Hi everyone, a very warm welcome back to the MEC-TEC garage. Today we are going to be doing part 2 on the Westfield, and the first order of jobs is that cam belt. I don't want to do anything else on this car until I change that, because otherwise it could be catastrophic engine failure for me and I don't want to get involved with that. So that is going to be the first job. The very first job is getting that nose cone off, because obviously as you would have seen in the first Westfield video, the cam cover literally sits up against the edge of the nose cone. So we need to get the nose cone off, work out how that comes apart, and then we can obviously get access to the front of the engine, take the cam cover off and have a good look, see what we're working with, and also make sure that the engine turns over, which I'm sure it will, but just to make sure we do it by hand to start with. So without further ado, let's crack on and get some work done. Right, having a look at this nose cone, it doesn't look like it's actually held on with much. There's one bracket underneath it, which obviously is there, you can see in front of you, and then on the top side, hang on, I'll show you, I've got to get up. There are 2 bolts inside here, you can see one just there, and the same on the other side over there. So I'm going to get those undone and see if that releases what we need to take off. Right, I've got this unbolted. Only 3 bolts, and literally this whole thing should just pull off. There you go. Just like that. Not a lot to that, is there? Looks like that grill wants a little bit of paintwork in there. See that? It's a bit rusty. Probably can't see it in that light, but still. Take my word for it, it's rusty. Right, when am I going to put this out of the way? Let's put it over here. My biggest issue in this garage is space. Not having space to put stuff when I take things apart. That's a fairly beefy old rad on that. However, it does look a bit wet at the bottom, but I don't know if that's because of obviously where we was towing it home yesterday, whether the bottom edge of it got covered in water and the top didn't. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But obviously now you can see the cam cover on the front there, and we've got literally full access, and we can see the oil filter and the air horns as well. Look, there's those air horns that we sort of heard on the last episode that weren't quite working well enough. I think the compressor might want a little bit of oil in it, so we can do that, that's no problem. Looks like it had washers on here to shim that nose cone up a bit. Washers everywhere, look. So yeah, right, let's I think that's obviously the first thing we need to do with that is get the alternator belt off, which is obviously you just adjust the alternator in, and then you can get that off on that slider bolt there, and then we can undo the cam cover, which is just 1, 2, possibly 3 bolts, and then we can see what sort of condition this cam belt's in. I'll come back to you in a second. Right, with the cam cover off, which was a bit of a faff, I just want to see if it actually turns over now, so I'm going to get it's got like a, what do you call that, an inverted Torx, don't know what you call it, it's an E20 anyway, on this crank pulley, if it fits that is, if it's actually going to fit, might not have one big enough. That's going to be an issue. Oh no, there we go, it's on. Let's see if it turns over. Oh man, it's stuck. Whoa. This is what I was afraid of. Been sitting outside all that time and the engine's stuck. Okay, we may have to get a bigger bar on it. Let me go and get a bigger bar and see if it breaks free. If not, we'll have to put some Take the plugs out and put some oil down the cylinders. Right, I'm only going to go really gentle on this because obviously I haven't put any lubrication or anything down the bores, but see if it just breaks free a bit easy with a bar because I only had a ratchet on it. That is stuck, well and truly. Well, hang on, it moved then, just a little bit, only a little bit. I think before I go any further, I'm going to take the plugs out, put some lubrication down the bores because I don't want to score those bores up. Come back to you in a second. Right, all you Vauxhall people out there will be laughing at me now because I tried to take off the rocker cover bolts to try and do that middle cover. There's only 2 bolts on it on, so ignore that. I'll put them back in again. It's just those 2 bolts. Right, I've got the plugs out. Now, having a look at all these, obviously it looks like it's running really rich. Now, out of those 4 plugs, you should be able to see this one, which is cylinder 3, I'm guessing, has got all crystals all over it, as if it's been wet. So out of any of them, I'm suspecting that one's going to be the one that is the suspect one. So I'm going to see if I can get, I've got a little bit of automatic transmission fluid over there. I'm just going to put a little bit of that down each one of them bores, let it soak for a little while, and then we'll try it again as to, because obviously I don't want to score the bores, so we'll let it soak in, hopefully it'll free it up a bit, and then we can try again with the bar. I'll come back to you in a bit. Right, I've had this soaking for a little while with automatic transmission fluid down the bores. Let's see if anything moves now. No, nothing yet. It's completely stuck. So I think we may have to leave that a little bit longer because that is doing nothing. Let's just try going the other way. I know you shouldn't go backwards with an engine, but it might help it free up. Oh, there it goes. It has undone the crank pulley a little bit. Ah, it's free now. Superb. Let's get a normal ratchet on it. Just shows you, just going back the other way slightly to, if there's like a corroded line in the bore and you're trying to push against it, effectively if the piston's trying to come up, obviously it's not going to work. So going backwards very slightly, looks like it broke the seal. It's hitting a dead spot there. So let's go back the other way. It's smooth going back that way. And I'm assuming it's probably going to go to a point and then get stuck again. Yeah, it is. It's free up to a point and then it gets jammed on the corrosion inside. So if we just keep going backwards and forwards, little by little, hopefully it will gradually work its way past it. Because obviously you've got to remember the tolerances are so tight inside an engine that any little bit is going to actually affect it. It doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as you get it freed up and get a complete rotation of it. Now the other thing it could be obviously is if it's not corrosion in the bores, it could be a stuck valve. To me it sounds like corrosion in the bores to me. You can hear it. I don't know if this is getting any better or not. Possibly is. Look, I think we got it. Load of oil just came out of that bore. That was the one that was stuck. Now I was the right one, number 3. See, told you. That was the one that was stuck. There we go. That's going right the way around now. Yes, lovely. Superb. So we've managed to free it up and not cause any damage, hopefully, because we put the, remember we put the automatic transmission fluid down there to give the bore a little bit of lubrication, and it's worked. Yeah, go, it's free all the way around now. I'm going the same direction, I'm not changing it at all. Going the direction the engine should run in. Yes, that's brilliant. Superb, I'm really pleased about that. That is good news. So at least for now we've got a free running engine again. This is the reason why, let this be a lesson to anyone out there doing this sort of thing. If you're doing a revival on an old car, don't just wang the engine over with a starter motor, because otherwise you could cause all sorts of problems. Always do it manually first. I know majority of you know that, but those of you who don't do it unless you know it's free. I've gone around quite a few rotations now. So now probably the best thing would be to do, I don't want to start it, but this belt actually looks in fairly good condition. And I would say it's probably not the original because it's a Gates belt, it's not a GM belt. I'm just looking, actually no, it is a GM belt, it's the original. Bloody hell. Yeah, maybe we're just getting up to the top there, look. See the GM number on it? It's got a GM part number. You can see that on there. There you go, see? It's a Gates belt, it's a GM part number. So obviously Gates make the belts for GM. So I think maybe what we'll do, we'll just turn it over a few times, possibly with the starter. Obviously with no plugs in, no resistance, so no tension, no pressure on that belt too much. Just to get it freed up and moving round, and obviously wear anything off, but at a slow RPM with the starter motor, and that will also prove if the starter motor works then. And then we can go from there on, then getting this belt changed and going for a proper start. Now we know it's free. That is if the carbs aren't cracked up. That'll be the next thing, but this was the basic thing to find out first. So I may get another, I've got the other battery off of it, which I think is at it anyway. I may stick another battery on there and just see if it does turn over with the starter. Now we've got it free. And now I know the belt's not completely mangled and cracked. And it's not likely to break just on the starter motor anyway. Right, I'll come back to you in a minute. Right, I'm going to lay a cloth over the top of that, because otherwise we're going to have oil shooting out everywhere. So I'll put that in there. It might blow that cloth off. Actually, I'll just lay it over the top of the whole thing, otherwise it'll just blow it off. I'm going to take them off of there, because otherwise they'll go flying. And let's see if the starter motor is working. Obviously I don't know about the wiring on the starter, it mainly will be all corroded, in which case I'll have to clean it up, and hopefully that battery's alright. That's a big battery that I keep as a spare for things like this. Right, let's so ready. Ignition on, got lights, we're in neutral, nothing. There it goes. That's good. It's turning over lovely easy. Oh, that's really good, I'm chuffed about that. So we've got a working starter as well, with working wiring, that's great. Now the other thing we could check while we're doing this as well is a spark. Because that will, let me just show you all the gunk that's come out of that bad cylinder. Look, all that's come out of there. It just shows you it was that cylinder that was at fault, definitely. Hopefully it hasn't done any damage in there. We'll only know when we run it. But let's see if we can get a spark out of it. If I get a plug set up, get one of these as we've got them out, we can use one of these. Earth it to the block. So yeah. Where can we earth it to? It should just rest on there. It should hopefully work. And I need to get this so I can see it as well. That's how let's do that. Tell you what, where should we earth it to? It should just rest on there, that should do it. Right, you're looking there, let me see if I can zoom you in so you can see if it sparks or not. Alright, you should be pretty much there now, so you should see a spark here. So where you're looking. Let's see if it sparks. Hang on. That will give us that will tell us that information as well then. Ready? Oh, typical, moved. We're going to get a shock off this now. Got to get it so I can see it, you see, as well. Tell you what, let me get a clamp and I'll clamp it to it. Hang on. Hold the line cooler. hoping it won't move then. We can clamp it in the right place. Hopefully that won't be too corroded on there. Right, let's try that. No spark that I could see, but that possibly is because that's all corroded up. So let's try better earth. Take it out of that plug, put it into this one. Put it in there. I'll move you round so you can see. Right, we're now looking down there, as you can see. Oh. Take you down a bit. Let's see if that works. You look in here. No spark. What I can see. Is it plugged in? No, it's not. That'd be why. The plug's off for this. Where's the plug for that then? I wonder if he took that off as a deterrent so no one could nick it. Should there be a plug on there? I'm guessing there should. There's no other plugs on the distributor anywhere, so it's got to be that plug there. Right, let's have a little look. Let me go around the other side. See if we can find a plug for it. Where is it? It's not under there. It's got to be somewhere in the vicinity, otherwise it won't reach. Well, that's weird. I can't see it anywhere. You're looking at the screen now saying it's right in front of you, blithering idiot. I can't see it. Where the hell is it then? There's definitely nothing else plugged onto that distributor, and that is only the only plug on it, so it's got to be that. Right, I'm going to do a bit of searching and see if I can find where it is. Well, I remember Aaron saying to me that there's a kill switch in this car somewhere, and I thought I'd found it. I haven't. That's a manual override for the cooling fan I've just found. That's interesting. Found the flashers for the headlights. So why is that not? It only sparks when you let off the when it comes back down off the cranking, which is weird. But we have got sparks, so I wonder if it's something to do with it not being in situ and it's not a very good earth, maybe. Only sparks when it comes back down off when you let go of the key. That's weird. I wonder why that is. Oh well. Now, do we risk it and start it with that cam belt? I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. I've just been turning this over a bit more. Look at all the stuff that's come out of that cylinder. That's all out of that one cylinder. But you can see it's got water in it as well. It's the auto trans fluid that I've put in there. You can see it all bubbling up inside it, sort of thing, like where it separates. So it's definitely a good thing that we did what we did. And I'm leaving it for sort of a minute, and then I'm turning it over again so that all the oil settles and it fires it all out the top, because obviously I'd rather it be out than in. So I'm going to give this a clean up now and see what else we get out of it, because it's a fair bit that's come out of there so far. Obviously I put some auto fluid, trans fluid in there, so obviously some of it's that, but a lot of it is also just gunk, rust and water and all sorts. So I'm very lucky, I think we saved this just in time, because otherwise if that had sat any longer like that, it could have done some serious damage. I don't know how long it was sitting like that to start with anyway, so here you go, give that a clean up. Let's see if it fires any more out. Hang on, I'll do it while I'm on film. No, looks like it's all come out now. What's going to come out anyway. So, and it's spinning over lovely. So I think we've saved that just in time, which is really good. So yeah, pleased about that. Top banana, lovely jubbly. Just as another note on this, in case any of you were wondering, I did check the oil before I turned it over, and as you can see by that, it is really clean, like almost brand new clean. So it shows you it's done virtually no miles since the last service, and it's up to the maximum mark as well. So that is absolutely perfect. So there's no water in the oil by the looks of it, as far as I can tell from that. There's no milkiness in the cap, because I've had a look at that as well. So that seems to be okay. It's still got coolant in it as well, so that is good. So yeah, we are looking good. Hopefully it's going to be back to full health again soon. I'm still debating whether I should try and start it with this old belt or not. It is relatively flexible now. It's gone around a few times and there's no cracks in it or anything. It may be okay to start it obviously just on idle. I just don't want to, I'm not sure I want to risk it, you know. And obviously I want to do the water pump over there as well, which is nestling in there. I think that's that toothed one there. So I'll make a decision and come back to you. Rightio, I've decided to err on the side of caution and wait for the cam belt kit to arrive before I try and start this. So what I'm going to do is buzz these air filters off. I'm going to have a little look inside these carbs. Hopefully these will come off. I might put a little bit of WD on these. That one's alright, that one's a bit tight. We'll get these air filters off, and I want to get the fuel line off, which is underneath these air filters, which feeds both the carbs, and then there's a manual switch for the fuel pump, which I want to run to see if there's actually any fuel in the tank. And obviously if there is, then we can get all the old gunky fuel out and hopefully give it a bit of a flush through with any luck. Now that top nut is not coming undone, which is spinning at the back there, so I'm going to have to get a pair of grips on the back of the stud there, get that one off. Let's see if this one comes off any easier. That one's alright, that one's alright, and that one's alright. So it's only one troublesome nut on that top filter there, which is a bit of a pain. So I'm going to work at getting these off, and I'll come back to you in literally, let's see if I can get this one off while I'm on camera. Hang on. Should come off fairly easy. Hopefully we might get some idea of what the inside of these carbs look like then as well. Okay. Right, I'll get a torch in there in a second and show you what we've got. It smells like old fuel to me, so not ideal, but I'm going to get this other nut off and I'll come back to you. Rightio, after much struggling getting that pipe off, you can see it's sitting just there. I'm going to switch on the ignition and switch on the fuel pump and see if anything actually comes out of it. Right, hang on. Ignition on. Right, that's the pump on. Oh, there we go, we have got fuel in there. That looks pretty yellow to me. And pretty old. Right, so what I think I'm going to do is pump all that out, and then we can start afresh with fresh fuel in the tank. So I'm going to do that, get a bigger container, maybe a longer bit of hose, so we can run it straight into a container and go from there. I'll come back to you in a minute. Right, well, it turns out there wasn't that much fuel in there, which is kind of good in a way, I guess, but as you can see by that, it shouldn't be that colour, and it shouldn't smell like that either. So it's definitely good that we drain it out. So what the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get a couple of fresh cans of fuel, put them in the tank, then do the same thing again with the pump and pump it through until it is clear, and then I'm going to put an inline filter in with it as well on that line, so that I know nothing as far as crud can get through to the carbs, because I don't know if you can see in the video in there, there's actually all little black bits inside there, and that's all come out of the tank. So definitely need to put a fuel filter in there. Obviously when I flush it through with some fresh fuel, can't speak, when I flush it through with some fresh fuel obviously that will hopefully flush out any more gunk that's in there, and then we can as I say, put a filter in line with it so it won't put any through to the carbs. The carbs actually stink of varnish. You can probably, let me grab a torch, hang on, will you be able to see or not in here? They don't look too bad, but they absolutely stink of varnish, and they're quite brown inside. So it may be that I have to take those off and give those a clean. Same as what we did on the Ninja carbs. They smell exactly the same as the Ninja carbs did. So whether they've got any sort of crusty residue or varnish inside them like those other ones did, I don't know. But that will obviously come to pass when we take them off, I guess, and have a little look. But either that, or we'll just try and run it and see what happens. we'll go one way or the other. So I'm going to go get some fuel, and then we can flush that tank through, and then it's another job closer to getting it running. Lovely jubbly. Right, as you can see there, I've got a fresh pan again. I've cleaned it all out, and I've been to the petrol garage, got a couple of tanks of fuel. I've just put one in for now. So I'm going to switch the fuel pump on again, see what we get out of it this time round. You can't really see it because the hose is down here. Well, I can't even see it. Where's it gone? Lost my hose. Got any hose? Where's it gone? Maybe somewhere. There it is. It's over here. So I'm going to have to hold it under there. So you're not going to be able to see a lot. So I'm going to pump some through, and I'll come back to you and show you what it's like in a second. Right, that is what we got out of it this time. I haven't done loads through it, but it is lighter than it was. So what I might do is obviously get rid of that and then do it again and see how clear it is the next time around, because it does look like it's clearer coming out the pipe now. I think that will be absolutely fine to run on. I know it's not a very good colour, but with the fresh stuff in there, obviously with the it's got super in it I put in there, so it's got a higher octane. It should be more than good enough to run on, and obviously as it gets used it'll obviously flush itself through even more, and as I say, we'll have a fuel filter in line with it as well. So I'm going to do that once more, and then I think we'll call that good. Let's carry on. There we go. I've actually flushed that twice more with that, about that much in the tray, and as you can see it's a lot clearer now, so that should be absolutely fine. It's slightly discoloured, but that'll obviously work its way out with the new stuff. I have got one more can to put in it, so that will dilute it even more. So I think we'll call that good for now, and rehook up this hose at the front here, and then all we're waiting for then to start it is these cam belt parts, which seem to be a bit elusive at the moment. I can't find anyone who does them. So yeah, I'm struggling a bit with that, but I'll carry on trying to search for them, and as soon as they're here we'll give it a try and get it all fitted. Right, as you can see there now, I've got that fuel line hooked back up with the inline filter in it, and the fuel in there is fairly clean. Now I have actually taken off the back cover, which is up there, which just comes off the back here when you take the seatbelt mounts off, and it shows you how basic these cars are really. You can see in there the fuel tank, rear axle, the fuel pump itself, and also it's got this, which is an extra fuel, or an inline fuel filter that it has in there already as part of the kit. So I'm actually going to take that off. You can drop the bow off the bottom of it here and just make sure that that's cleaned out as well while I'm there, because I didn't even know that was there, which is why I put the inline one in. So it's good that it is there though, so we'll give that a clean out while we're here. The other thing is, I did use the fuel pump on the car to pump fuel up to the carbs, and it all started pouring out these inlets. So I think the float bowls are stuck in these carbs, so I'm going to take the tops off of these next, and we'll have a little look inside and see what needs cleaning and what needs sorting out. I'll come back to you in a minute. Rightio, the top of these carbs come off really easy. It's literally just 4 screws. I had to undo this just to get it out of the way because it was over the top of the screw head. I need to take that linkage off really because it's obviously attached to the other one, but as you can see in there, it's actually really clean. Not too bad at all. I was quite surprised. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take those jets out the middle, just make sure they're all clear, blow some compressed air through them so I know that they're all going to be free running and not have any problems with fuel. And I'm going to take that's the float on the bottom there behind that gasket, and obviously that's your little needle and seat in the middle there. You can see in the middle there. I'm going to take this off, make sure that that needle and seat is clean so that the carbs hopefully won't overflow when I start pumping fuel back up next time. But I'm pleasantly surprised. I thought there'd be a lot worse than that in there. I thought there'd be a load of gunk and muck in there, but they're actually really good. And obviously it's got a little bit of fresh fuel in there that I've obviously pumped up from when I've put the fuel pump on, you know. So that's pretty good. I'm quite pleased with that. So hopefully, I've never had one of these Delautos apart before, so I don't know the ins and outs of them and where you're supposed to clean and where you're not supposed to clean, but obviously I'll have a little look in there, just make sure everything I can find is cleaned, and go from there. Top banana, let's carry on. Right, first jet I pulled out, and the side holes are all alright, but the end hole is blocked up, which is the smallest one. So it's a good job I started taking this out and having a look, because obviously you cannot see, if I hold up to the light, you cannot see anything through that at all. So I'm going to spend a bit of time with the old carb cleaning needles, get that clean, get that hole cleared out, and then go through the other ones that are in there, make sure they're all clear too. Let's carry on. Rightio, got the second carb open. As you can see, it's just as clean inside, no real gunk in it, so that's good. I've had these 4 jets out and this one under there at the back. I've had all those out and they're all clear. They've got fairly big holes in the jets on these because it's obviously a car rather than a bike. The jets are obviously a lot bigger, so they don't get clogged up so easy. So pretty happy with the condition of that. I'm just going to take this float off and just check that needle and seat. The other one was absolutely fine, there was no gunk in there at all. So I think maybe it was overflowing just because the engine wasn't running, but the fuel pump was, if that makes sense. So there was nothing obviously to use up the fuel, and there's obviously not an auto shut off when it gets to a certain pressure on this, because it's being a kit car. Obviously with other cars they get up to fuel pressure and it shuts the pump off, but this one obviously doesn't. So I think we'll probably be okay. Don't really think I need to take them any apart any further for now, until we obviously try and start it and see what it does. I'll give this one a little clean up on the top because it was a bit gunky, a little bit of brake clean on there. Then do the same with this one. You can see it's a bit wet, so I'm going to give that a little clean up before I put that back on. And hopefully we should be good to go. Top banana. Right, this is the top of the second carb. I just thought I'd show you. This is basically exactly the same as the first one. You can see there the needle is lovely and clean, and a little seat on the end of it. It's got like a little rubber seat on the end of it. That is absolutely fine too. So I think we're okay on that side of things. So I'm going to get all this put back together. I think we can call the fuel system good for now, until obviously we try and start it and see what happens. Let's carry on. Right, I was just watching a little bit of the video back while I was editing, and I noticed that when I had the cloth on top of the engine there and we turned it over with the starter motor, it was only puffing out of 3 of those 4 cylinders. And it got me thinking, is that cylinder number 3 low on compression? So I'll just put the compression tester in. I'm going to do the three sort of cylinders I think are good first, and then we'll do the other one and see what it reads. Just about 100 psi, that is, just under. A little bit low actually, I thought it'd be higher than that. Right, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to swap it over and I'll come back to you and do the same on the next one. Right, this is going to be number 2. That's not good at all. That's like 55 psi, 60 psi. Okay, I'll come back to you in a second. I'll change it over again. Right, this is number 3, the suspected bad one. Let's see what it does. Either my gauge is wonky or that's reading virtually nothing. It's not good. Right, swap it over to number 4. I'll leave you running, it doesn't take a second. I don't know if it's my gauge or whether it's actually that low. Right, number 4. Straight up to 100 again, pretty much. So those 2 middle cylinders, 2 and 3, look a bit suspect to me. I'm going to check them again to make sure. It could be stuck valves, it could be stuck rings, it could be anything. Right, this is number 2 again. Slightly higher, it's about 60 psi, just over. So I'm wondering whether it's because just the rings are a bit stuck, and maybe if I put some more oil down the bores it might bring it back round again. I'm going to check number 3 again now, because number 3 is the one that had all the gunk in it, and see if it reads any better. Right. Number 3 again, this suspect one. Nope, that's not good. Not good at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to soak them cylinders with maybe some thinner oil this time, maybe like some WD-40 or something, so that it works its way around the rings. You never know, it might bring it back, and that's the hope. And obviously running it will hopefully bring it back as well, because obviously once it gets a bit of heat into it, hopefully it will pop the rings open again. Fingers crossed. I can't cross my fingers, there we go. Right, I've had these all four WD-40 in all 4 of these cylinders, and I've let them sit over the weekend with that in. Now I've just checked the other 3, 1 and 2 and 4 are now all at 100 psi. So the number 2 that was at 60 has now improved to 100, so that's great. This is the troublesome one, and you'll see it does take a little while to build the pressure. Hopefully you can see that on camera. Yep. It has actually improved, so I'm hoping when this runs it should be alright. So before that was at about 10 psi, now it's at about 60 psi, so it has improved a fair bit. So I reckon with a little bit of heat and a little bit of vibration with the engine actually running on 3, well it will be running on 4, but obviously with low compression on this one, I reckon that will come back around hopefully. So that is good news. So I think we'll leave it there for the compression side of things. We've got most of the fuel side of things sorted out. The spark I've still got to look into. I'm going to clean up all the connections on the coil, which is down here. You can see that in the camera. Because we have still got a bit of a spark issue where it only sparks when the key is switched off and the revs drop back down again. So that obviously needs looking into. I think this plug on this distributor here was a red herring, because it's obviously in a kit car. It's running a different system, and there's a lot of plugs on this engine that aren't actually used. So that is a red herring. It runs obviously off the coil, doesn't need a plug in there. So I'm going to say clean up all the connections. I'm going to make sure the earth on the engine is good and clean that up, and we give it a little bit of copper grease, and hopefully that will improve the spark situation. And the other thing we need to do before we try and start it again, or try and start it at all I should say, is do that, just take that filter off at the back, just the one I showed you before in there. I need to take that off. I need to get underneath the car and take that off. Just make sure there's no sediment or mank in that filter. I know we've got an inline one up here as well, but obviously just to make double sure, we'll clean that one out too. We are still waiting on a couple of the cam belt components at the moment, so obviously we can't start it. Well, we could start it, but I don't want to start it until I get that. So there we go, top banana. Rightio, I've got the bowl off of that filter in the back there, as you can see, and the actual inside of it isn't that bad, to be fair. It's quite, there's no gunk in it. Little tiny bit of sediment in the bottom of that bowl. In fact, let me go out in the light a bit more and then you'll be able to see it better. 2 seconds. Right. You can see in there. It's actually not too bad at all. There's a little bit of sediment in the bottom, but nothing really. And the filter, although it's a bit grubby, it's not blocked up or anything like that with gunk, so that's alright. So I think we're going to leave that be for the minute. I think that'll be fine. So I'm going to get all this wiped out, get all that gunk in there wiped out. Let me see if I can show you a bit better. There we go. See, there's a little bit of sediment in the bottom there, that's all. So nothing really. Get all that cleaned out and put it back. Top banana. Let's carry on. Right then, that is going to be it for this episode on MEC-TEC. We've made some good progress on the old Westfield. Thank goodness we've got that engine freed up, and we have improved the compression now on it now as well, so that's great. We have sorted out the fuel system. That's all flushed all the way through. Fresh fuel, can't say that very easily, all the way through. Carbs are cleaned out and checked. Jets are all clear. Needle and seats are all sealing now as well, because I've had the fuel pump running again and it now doesn't leak out the carbs, so that's great. I have re-soaked that third cylinder again in WD-40 to try and obviously give those rings a little bit more lubrication, to try and sort that bit out. But I think once we do get it running, with a bit of heat and vibration, that'll free up, no problem at all, so that should be fine. The cam belt I've got now, and I've got the water pump as well, but I haven't got the idler pulley or the tensioner yet, so I'm waiting on those. So in the next episode, fingers crossed, we can get all that fitted and go for a fire up on this for the first time in 7 years, so that'd be great. The other issue we've got to sort out before we can fire it up is that spark issue. As I said before, it's not sparking correctly, so I'm going to go through all the connections, make sure everything's all right, and try and get it so that it's a constant spark as it should be. And then, fingers crossed, we can have a runner on our hands with any luck. Now remember, I've got Instagram, MEC_TEC1985, and I have got MEC-TEC on Facebook on the pages, so little sneak peeks during the week of what I'm up to goes on there if you want to have a look. If you do like what you see and you are new here, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button down there and the bell. That will tell you every time I upload a video. And all that is left for me to say is, if you want to join me soon for more automotive adventures, I'll see you again next time. Cheers guys.